name is Keith Beauchamp, and I investigate murders. I've dedicated my life to exposing the evils of racial injustice. This time, I'm investigating sundown towns. Towns where African Americans are not allowed to live in, no less be in after the sun had set. In 2011, while investigating the suspicious hanging death of Raynard Johnson of Kokomo, Mississippi for the Injustice Files, we stumbled across a small southern hamlet called Morgantown. There, I was repeatedly warned not to step foot in this town after dark because of the color of my skin. I later learned that Morgantown is a sundown town. Sundown towns were all-white communities where African Americans were not allowed to live or be in after dark.
To finally meet you, I'm just so overwhelmed right now.
Oh, come on, brother, man, come on.
Yeah,
Well, look,
no,
I thank you for being persistent to make sure that I join your show. I know that you were one of the first to come out and speak and on behalf of our film Till, encouraging people to give it a chance and go out and see it. So I want to thank you for that, brother, because you know, it's a story that needs to be told, and people should know the story, of course.
absolutely. Thank you, man. And because I feel like it could have been one of our kids. So, and it's still one of our kids
That's
that
right.
it's happening to. And I just think that we just need to spread awareness for future generations to come, because it's just really important to do that. And I just disagree with people who talk about, oh, they just making money off our trauma or just our disdain. But it's a lot of great things that happen with our trauma as well. So we need to embrace that.
That's right. I mean, I'm a firm believer if we forget our past, history will repeat itself. And unfortunately, that's what's happening today, and which is why it's so important to tell Till's story, because there's no other story that speaks more to this generation, political and racial climate than the story of Emmett Lewis Till. You know, I just was fortunate to learn about it at the age of 10, growing up in Baton Rouge, and you know, Emmett has been my kindred spirit this whole journey. And so it's important that we do not forget his story, especially when you talk about his story, his lynching in the historical context of civil rights in this country. He was the catalyst that sparked the American Civil Rights Movement, which is so important that people need to know.
Oh, absolutely. And you had the opportunity of doing his mother last interview. So how about you tell us about how did y'all meet and how did that come about?
Well, I met Mother Mobley, I call her, Mrs. Mamie Till Mobley, early 1995. It was actually over the telephone. It was after I made a decision that I wanted to pursue the story as being one of my first projects in film. And so it actually started off as research. My research on the Till case, it started off as research material to develop the feature film in which you're seeing today, but I failed in getting it done back in those early days, and produced the documentary instead with the encouragement of the late Mrs. Mamie Till Mobley. But I met Mother Mobley in early '95. It was, again, right after I made the decision that I wanted to pursue the story as a possible feature film. And I had a side job. A lot of people, you know, think filmmaking is easy, but I had a side job. I was just coming into the industry thanks to my best friend and his sister. And I was at Estee Lauder headquarters, and I was sitting there, and I said, if I wanted to pursue this story, I have to get his mother's blessings, because even at that time, Brother William, we were talking about appropriation and who's telling our story. So I didn't want to be someone coming out telling a story that I didn't have the authorization to tell. I wanted to make sure that I included the people who lived it in my project. So I initially reached out to Mother Mobley. I picked up the phone and called her. Actually, when she picked up the phone on the other end, I hung up in her face. And that was because I was so afraid. I was young at the time, didn't know what type of mindset she would be in, didn't know what type of life she actually lived, because I knew she was the mother of Emmett Till, but unlike now, we didn't have the capabilities of the internet like we do now, where you get information instantly. It was only a little bit about her on the internet. And so when I called her, she picked up, I hung up. I couldn't believe I hung up in her face. I sat there and I fussed at myself for doing that. And I picked up the phone again, called her back. She picked up, and I immediately apologized to her. And I explained to her why I was so nervous to speak to her, because I've always considered Mother Mobley as being the mother of the civil rights movement.